And in this place yesterday, Senator Faruqi went a step further. She disrespected the rules of the Parliament by holding up a sign for the duration of the Governor-General's address on the opening of this term of Parliament. Now, what we saw this week is what we have seen before from Senator Faruqi. Senator Faruqi demands respect, but she does not offer it. She denigrates anyone who doesn't agree with her on everything regularly, including personally. I don't think this is the leadership Australians expect. This is what Australian democracy is about.
Faruqi, like any one of us, has had ample opportunity to raise her concerns within this chamber, outside of this chamber, through the media, through statements, or even, should she choose, through peaceful protest. What she chose instead was to use one of the most important moments on the parliamentary calendar to stage a protest that was entirely inappropriate in both setting and manner. The Senate is not a forum for street theatre. It is not.
Senator Cash, remove your seat. Remove the interjector and turn the broadcasting off. Remove the interjector and turn broadcasting off.
In this chamber wants to avoid the truth. You don't want to see it or hear it. And now here we are. You want to force me to apologise for telling the truth. Well done. You can all pat yourselves on the back and move on while Palestinians are slaughtered. I do want to draw attention to the words of Martin Luther King in his letter from a Birmingham jail. And it seems especially relevant while you all sit here and censure me for breaking what you call the decorum of Parliament, of my failure to be polite or respectful while a genocide unfolds, while kids are being killed. He wrote of his frustration with the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who seeks only the absence of tension rather than the presence of justice, who says, I agree with the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your ways of achieving it, who has a paternalistic belief they can set the timetable and decorum of another people's freedom. Well, you can set your standards because you don't want to see the truth. You don't want to do anything about the genocide. And one day, you know what? One day, you will all have to explain to your children and grandchildren where you stood when tens of thousands of men, women and children were being slaughtered. And I wouldn't like to be in your shoes then, because you are all on the wrong side of history.
Senator Mehreen Faruqi staged a protest in Parliament today. She had a sign in the chamber, which she's not supposed to have. What did you make of that?
Look, I thought it was infantile. I thought it was a stunt. It was undergraduate in nature or maybe even high school in nature. It demeans... Being a senator or being an elected representative is an immense privilege. You have, a platform. You're able to give speeches. You're able to come on media shows like this. You have the opportunity to articulate your voice. But for her and to try and upstage an important occasion in Australia's democratic system, the opening address by the Governor-General, with that sort of puerile stunt, I think it's just... It shows a great disrespect for Australian institutions and Australian democratic norms, and I don't think it's not like she is denied opportunities to speak out on this issue in many other forums.
We had a large pro-Palestinian protest outside Parliament House. I guess that's to be expected. Some of the signage bordered on hate speech, as far as I could work out. They were outside Parliament House. The Greens, of course, went out there and addressed that protest. No one's saying you can't protest, but, calling and suggesting that the Prime Minister has blood on his hands is completely over the top, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, I don't know if these protesters realise this, but I think, they vastly overestimate Australia's influence on developments in a conflict on the other side of the world, It doesn't matter what Anthony Albanese does or what the Australian government does. We are not single-handedly going to be able to, convince Hamas to release the hostages. All we can do is add our voice and our weight to sensible opinions. But these people who are protesting seem to think that the sole preoccupation of Australia should not be our own citizens, our own interests, our own priorities. should be to try to address a conflict, around the other side of the world with means that we just simply don't have. I find it hard to know what these protesters actually expect they will be able to achieve by this.
Just finally, on a positive note, I was pleased to see today retired Victorian Governor Linda Dessau on a podcast with my old colleague Neil Mitchell has called out the anti-Israel protests that have taken place in Melbourne, people chanting death, death to the IDF. She came out very strongly today and she said, look, after 9/11 we were very careful about what happened with our Islamic community. We don't seem to be paying the same amount of care to the Jewish community in the wake of what happened on October the 7th. That's a positive, isn't it, that someone at a senior level like Linda Dessau would come out and say that.
Values we took once for granted in Australia are being undermined. Today, the Albanese Labor government gets away with doing things that would simply not have been acceptable in Australia a generation or two ago. Labor may have won the 2022 and the 25 election with only approximately 35% of the primary vote, but that hasn't made the problems Labor created go away. We still have a cost of living crisis, we still have a housing crisis, we still have record immigration, increasing debt, huge budget deficits and declining economic productivity.